Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio. I'm Ben Crow and I am currently in the final stages of taking one of our kit guitars and turning it into a Cyberpunk 2077 inspired thing. I have hollowed it, carved it, lathered it in aluminium tape, etc. And if you haven't watched the rest of the videos, go back and do so. Burn it. Haha, yay! This is the last video. I'm going to cram a lot in, starting with some fire, because I want to. I need to bolt the guitar together, and the bolts look a little bit too shiny. So there we go. A little blued, a little warm, and I want to do the same with the turnbuckles. I probably should have used more water in a non-plastic receptacle, but nothing has gone wrong. And we've just changed the colorway just a little bit. There we go. Let's put it together then, shall we? Where I glued in the neck, I have to re-drill so that I can put my threaded insert in, because that ain't deep enough. That was unexpected. I completely forgot that we have a PRS style neck joint here, where it's going into the neck pocket rather than a solid, 25 to 28 millimeter thick chunk of wood. And yes, I just pooped myself just a little bit. That was quite scary. Boom. I can see through. Not an issue though. Just somewhat frightening. If you want a giant screwdriver, go to vintagetoolshop.com, my other company. Now, there are some of you that don't like my use of whatever these things are called. I've just forgotten their name again. Turnbuckles. But I don't care. I do. I like them. I like them a lot. It fits in my mind with what this sort of cyberpunky but also sort of broken universe would have. We have a guitar together. Was that the battery thing? That is being replaced. I am experimenting with various different things, or will be experimenting with various different things that were suggested in the comments below. I listen to you. Often it's too late, but I do listen. Okay, logo, LED. What I have in mind here is an aluminium headstock veneer-ish sort of thing with a logo built in with LEDs behind it. Before I do that, I need to drill these out. This is obviously one of our kits from Crimson Guitars that's been heavily modified. And we drill them out for 8mm tuners, just in case that's what you fancy using. I need to gradually drill out from 8.5 through to 10 because, well, my tuners are 10. So I want it to be 9.5 from the front, but 10 from the back. Trick of the day is when you are trying to make a hole bigger, go up in increments, but also when you are, if you're going up in 0.5mm increments like I was there, don't have the drill going forwards as it normally should. that runs a risk of tearing everything out. Start it running backwards. You're only taking half a mil off, and it will actually make the hole bigger, and you're basically sneaking up on the right size hole in reverse, and you know, it works. Ta-da! So I need to drill some holes for the tuners and build it up a little bit so I've got somewhere for the LEDs to be. So in order to make the logo more accurate, I glued on what was supposed to be an inlay piece, and I actually really like the 3D effect of that, so I think I'm going to leave that on now. I've drilled some holes, fitted it, and overall I'm really rather happy with how that looks. All I need to do now is texture it so that it matches the other plate. This is feeling like I've got another couple of episodes in me. I'm not sure what's happening, but, well, yeah. I've got a lot planned. We'll see where we end up. Where I currently stand is this plate. And what I've done is there's a couple of veneers underneath, and the logo is proud, which means I can get an LED under here, and essentially the outline of the logo is going to be in negative or positive. I've only had one coffee so far, and I'm currently fighting with myself because I'm going to be basically relicking this, as you know, has been the plan all along. But the thing that's breaking my heart is that I'm probably going to end up using coffee as part of that process. And that makes me sad and happy. So I'm going to have to inlay a couple of small LEDs sort of into the headstock because, well, they're 3mm plus nonsense. And my two veneers laid together are much, much smaller than that, so this is a little bit messy. There we go. Some aluminium foil in that to help that spread, and we'll be good. Okay. I often feel that whole imposter syndrome thing. And it's like, why the hell are all of you guys watching me? What I just did there, that was pretty freaking clever. I'm a little bit happy with myself. Moment of truth. And on a dark stage, that'll be a little bit more obvious. I like it. I could add a few more LEDs if I wanted to. I don't really want to. There's a cat over there. What's he doing? You all need to meet the new chicken. An effort between the children and the wife ended up in a name of Spaghetti Noodle Doodle Doo, the chicken. So, yeah, we have a silky hen. Hey, Moxie. Anyway, let's get back to work. Yeah, I'm going to leave it as one LED. The whole guitar is coming together. I need to make these holes just a fraction bigger. By fraction, I mean a fraction. Now, if I ever need to take this off to replace the LED or something, it's just a couple of spots of super glue and will not take much to sort out. Just a few good hard knocks will do it. And yes, before you ask, I have made sure the shafts of the tuners are long enough to deal with the extra 3 millimeters of depth, thickness, material. The time has come to level, crown and polish these frets. I am not going to bore you with a full tutorial. I have done that many, many, many times. I am going to use a notch straight edge. I need to double check that the neck itself is straight. If it isn't, I'll use an Allen key to adjust the truss rod. So the fret dressing file, make it nice and comfortable so you don't rip yourself open. And there's a lot of masking tape involved. Once the fretboard itself and the neck is nice and straight, I can level the frets. I will use, personally, I like leveling files. We do all of these tools at Crimson Guitars. I will use a leveling file followed by a leveling beam with various finer grits of sandpaper on it. And in the process, I will go over with a fret rocker just to make sure that they are actually level and there aren't any high or low spots. Because, yeah, that's the point. We're trying to avoid that. I then use a crowning file to crown. And then I will use various types of sandpaper and polish and thread rubbers, etc. to polish everything up. I wonder, maybe you've been watching said footage this entire time and Oh, how I wish I could move into the future and be you. And it's done. How wondrous. There's no apprentices here. Just me. Hey Jasmine, fancy learning how to level frets? My daughter is a teenager-ish now. Not quite. She's perfected the eye roll. It's incredible. Oh, and the finger. This might not be my best ever fret job. It turns out it's actually rather difficult to see in the dark. I need extra lights. This work lamp is awesome. I think I've done an okay job. I need to see this in the light of day, to be honest. Feels phenomenal. But there we go. The basics of how to level frets. So the frets turned out okay. One trick that you saw me use that I'm not sure if I've mentioned before, this is my leather strop that I use for sharpening tools. It is imbued with Autosol chrome polish, and it is the perfect thing with which to finally polish your frets. In fact, we should sell them as just such a tool at crimsonguitars.com. We really should. But anyway, it gave me the final polish, and in spite of the fact that I couldn't really see what was going on, they turned out all right. Let us clean off the excess polish, etc., using our Crimson Guitars fretboard cleaner, and then restorative. So this is non-toxic, good, safe, clean, effective. Unlike traditional lemon oil, which is largely really toxic and really bad for you, and of questionable use on a guitar. I'm going to leave that to cure and sink in. This fretboard has obviously never had any oil, and this is going to percolate and sink in and then be refilled over the next 20 minutes or so. I think I need to pick up a piece of metal now, don't you? A piece of brass. They say it improves the tone of the guitar. I think it does. Anyway, this just happens to be wide enough that I'm just going to strip something off the end. I wish it were that easy. That'll do. I've made most of a nut, and the fretboard has had several layers applied. You need to do this on your guitar probably twice a year if you've got a rosewood or an ebony fretboard, something like that. It does make all the difference. At this point I need half a pencil. I have half a pencil. Basically, the lead is right on the bottom. If I put the nut flat where it's going to go and run the bottom of the pencil, the leaded bit, on the top of the frets, that both gives me the radius and also gives me basically the perfect height for the bottom of my string slot. So I can't go lower than that. I'm not sure if this is brass or bronze. It's really nice metal. I still have some sharp edges to get off, but we're getting there. For me, I think that the definition of a professional level guitar builder is somebody who cares about the edges of the nut. If it's left sharp, it's gonna hurt the player, and that is the sign of somebody who hasn't thought about what they're actually doing. How many times have I messed up on this build because I haven't thought about what I'm doing? And once I'm happy with everything, having checked with the nut slot spacing rule, again, back crimson, move on to at least starting them with our nut slot files. Use number 1001. I should do a video, 1001 uses for a fret leveling beam, is to just tidy up your nut. I can make the simplest statement last 2 or 3 minutes effortlessly. I'm sorry. Yeah, bronze, people. It is 100% bronze. Probably not the first bronze guitar nut ever, but, you know, there we go. At this stage, one would normally glue the nut in. That is, of course, if you're not a megalomaniacal guitar builder with a penchant for dissolving things in ferric chloride acid. People have been commenting about the intensely shiny chrome of the pickups, etc. And how blue the blue is and how blotchy I left the blue. And this was a choice, because I'm not going to use the word relic because it has negative connotations. I am going to weather this guitar, a la Adam Savage and all of that jazz. And it's going to look a lot better. The back in particular just looks brand new, doesn't it? Except for the fact that it's not supposed to look like it's just been finished. Right when I did these, I said, never mind, I know you don't like the look of them, some of you don't, but I have a plan. My plan involves throwing a lot of paint at it and bits and pieces, and yeah. You're either gonna despise this, and I've waited till the very last video to do this, or you're gonna love it, and either way I want you to let me know in the comments. But onwards. I have taken apart the lovely chrome tuners, the lovely chromed bridge. This is UK made by Granger Guitars. Good company. I'm going to remove some of the chroming, mostly on there, but also on some of the brass bits and pieces, the nut, which turns out to be bronze, and I'm going to use this bunny rabbit full of ferric chloride to do that. Carefully, wearing gloves and goggles and an apron and everything. I'm also going to very carefully, once I've got the hang of it, etch away parts of the pickups. I cannot take the pickups apart. I do not want to take the pickups apart, so I'm going to have to be gentle and just apply carefully. It should be possible. I have, and this is the important thing, I have a half milk carton full of lukewarm water mixed with bicarbonate of soda, and that is to neutralize the acid when I'm done with it. I'm not going to worry about any parts of these that are going to be hidden inside of the guitar. In fact, I want to avoid those as much as possible. So, for example, this is the section where the string is going to be on the post of the tuner. I'm dipping it in half. I haven't, even after the last experience with this, I haven't diluted it anymore. I want it to work as quickly as it possibly can and then just be done with it, because I'd like to finish the guitar today. So I have a line at one angle going through it, and I'm just going to sit this down and let it do its thing. I'm then going to come clean it off, dry it, and then put in some spots and dots. It's just taking the top layer of chrome off. This is still only the start. Using scrunched up tissue to get a very random kind of effect is, well, is important and effective. I'm using the bicarbonate of soda and water to clean it. I'm being very careful not to put too much on the pickups because they still have their parts internally. I'm not worried about damaging it. I'm not currently using fire, for example. But I'm very, very happy with the result that I'm getting here. When afterwards, i.e. a little bit later today, with rub and buff kind of stuff and paint and washes and different paint pigments. It's basically, I'm just messing around, to be honest, and having fun with it. That's been run under a tap. It's nice and neutralized. I'm just gonna leave them to dry and put it all back together again. We've etched right through to the copper. When you are chrome plating or nickel plating something, what you tend to do is take something, plate it in copper, then plate it in the final thing, because everything likes copper and it wants to stick to it. So yeah, if you want copper hardware, all you really need to do is take off what's on what you currently have. Top tip of the day. So this is just a start. I'm going to install the tuners and the bridge and everything now, which is why I've left those saddles off, because the bridge needs to be installed and the holes are behind the saddles. I am going to add various different physical effects to the pickups as well, probably paint and all sorts. I probably should sign this guitar. In fact, I should have done this before I put the tuners on. Quite happy with that. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I've been trying to find some variation of that BC kind of thing that I'm happy with for years, and yeah, I think just adding a box around it has fixed it. So I have installed a piece of mahogany in the back of the trim cavity here, because obviously we're not having a trim. And that fits underneath the lip here, so it's going to be nice and strong. And I just need to put a little piece of maple in here. I'm going to stain it blue so it looks like an attempt was made to make it look a bit better. But it's part of the story of this guitar that at some point, somebody in 2060, for example, took the trim off because trims suck. I'm looking for comments. I'm goading you. At the same time that I put the new fretboard on, I said I'm not going to bother planing the excess down all the way because I don't want to go into the carbon graphite stiffening rods that are there. This, of course, means that the fretboard is thicker than it otherwise would be, really. And I am having to make a backplate for the bridge, just so that the bridge is roughly the right height. Again, I'm fine with that. Sort of 10:30-ish, we are expecting a lightning and thunderstorm in about half an hour or so. I have spent a very long day, most of it hopefully not boring you, because I have taken your advice. I went and got a couple of lithium-ion batteries for this build. And I've been playing around. Orson, turn the lights off, please. I've been playing around with the wiring. And we now have a switch that switches on everything. And I'm incredibly happy. In all seriousness, this guitar has to be finished tomorrow. Because I have to start the Great Guitar Build-Off. I've given everybody else a 2-week head start because I might as well make it fair to them. But I should get moving, shouldn't I? Then the trash talk begins. Bye-bye. It is time to finish this guitar, really. I'm going to scratch up some pickups. These are a little bit orangey in comparison to everything else, so I'm just taking the top layer off on part of it. 600 grit, wet and dry. This looks a little bit bright. I'm not putting covers on. So back to shielding paint. Another slight difficulty, but something that will occur if you are insane like me and try and do this at home. When you carve away a lot of material, every now and then you kind of take a little bit too much away. What I ended up with was a very thin spot underneath the pickup. So I had a bit of wood there, but I carved a load away inside as well, and it just wasn't strong enough to bolt my pickup to. So piece of aluminium plate, glued and screwed down. I can now put the pickup in as normal. We do this on some of our copper rodded guitars. Flash that up on the screen. Where the pickup is over the chasm, and we'll do exactly this. So useful trick. Wiring is not my most treasured experience. I can follow a diagram. I don't necessarily know what that diagram, why the electrons are moving in that particular path. I'm getting there. It's only taken nearly 20 years. I'm using Fishman Fluence pickups for this because they looked like they would fit and I've wanted to use them for a while. Well, I've wired it up according to the schematics. I'm going to put some strings in. nut is far too high. Of course. The cows like it. Okay. Got this is a Reggiani amp. UK made, very, very cool. I haven't got a jack plate here, so that's just sort of hanging loose. I'm fairly sure it's all going to work. Whether it all works together or not, that is a question. It occurred to me late last night that there's no connection between the LEDs and the wiring. What do we have? Okay, I want to start a campaign to get rid of all guitar cables that have a black button on them, because when you build a guitar, you don't want to have to try and figure out what's wrong before anything's happened. Okay. We have volume, we have tone. So far so good, and then push pulls. That all works. I must have been a bass player in a former life. Okay, I think that's the first time I've actually turned this amp on in this workshop, period. So, yeah. Or for that matter, play the guitar for a while. Right, fine, look, I'm avoiding something. I am avoiding turning the LEDs on because I suspect it's going to be noisy. Should I do it? Oh. It's not unmusical. Okay. You need to be laughing along with me. I don't think hooking the ground of the LEDs to the ground of the guitar is going to make much difference. I'm not entirely sure why I don't think that, but we'll see. I'm actually due to go off to Crimson for a minute to actually hopefully hire a new employee. But I'll ask there and see what they think. It looks to me like it's the flashing LEDs, and I might have to either not have active pickups. I'd have to build an entire guitar based around relict Fishmans. That I've got too much of a problem with that, to be honest. Or possibly, and I don't want to do this, possibly go in and swap out all of the flashing LEDs for standard ones. There are tests to be done. Okay. I want to know in the comments how many of you thought this might be the case, and how many of you didn't tell me, or did, for that matter. All right, you beautiful people, it is the next day, and I have not slept a wink thinking about these LEDs. I lie through my teeth. I slept really well. Basically, we have two test rig things just done. The guitar's in. Don't she look pretty? The amp is there and on. Sustain for days. This is our little LED that doesn't flash. And this here is one of the flashing LEDs. As I said, it's not an unpleasant noise, except for the fact that it's not supposed to be there. I have no choice but to take the two halves of the guitar apart. Pretty good, I decided that that could be done in order to replace the LEDs if that was ever required. And I'm going to have to replace all of the flashing LEDs, both down the center and in the cavities. And I've got no choice. I am not going to do it in this video. I'm going to continue with everything else that I was planning because we are now down to the wire. Onwards. I would say that I forgot these pieces, but it was also, you know, I just fancied playing with more acid. One of those things. We need some backplates. So there's two tricks here. One of them involves masking tape. Very basically, it took a little bit of effort and a few broken blades to chop all of these out. It would have taken me a whole hell of a lot more effort and been a lot less precise if I had just filed each one down after cutting with tin snips. So get as close to the line before you finesse. I'm quite happy with how the fit has worked out. This is the other trick. And it isn't the masking tape and super glue trick. If you don't have a template for whatever you're working on, put the masking tape along each line and extend it beyond where you want to go, and then you've got something that you can put a ruler on end to end that will allow you to draw a line on the top, thus make your life a little bit more precise and easier. Okay, I'm coming to the end of this. I've got a guitar. It's currently flashing. I am going to take all of the flashing LEDs out and replace them with just single on ones. I could say that better, I'm sure, but I'm thinking about what I'm filming. Tell you what, go to @Crimson Guitars and @TheRealBenCrow on Instagram. In about 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, when I've finished the next build, which is going to be the winning build for the Great Guitar Build-Off, then I will take a day and do this, and I'll post video of the final instrument. I might even sort something out about those sound holes. It's still niggling at me. So, but this here, this looks far too nice. We can't have that now, can we? Oh yeah. I am fully aware that I am currently going to be getting more than a little hate, I think, in the comments below. From the beginning, I said this was the sort of scummier end of the Cyberpunk 2077 game. This is cool tech that is, you know, older, damaged, etc. I couldn't have all of the relict hardware, aged hardware, weathered hardware, without doing something with the finish. I hope this isn't too much of a surprise. It definitely feels different when it's your guitar. I'm having a blast there. Perfect. Okay, we're done, I think, maybe. I'm not entirely sure how finished this is. I'm probably going to go in a little bit more, play around with the weathering, add a little bit more dust. I love how the dust, which was burnt umber and raw umber powder, by the way. I love how that has settled into these. I'm a bit bummed out that I'm going to have to get rid of the flickering. That's just the way it is. But the details of this now. I think the only thing that I haven't done was I was thinking about putting sort of black on the aluminium inside here. But when it came to it, I said, actually, let's just leave it. I've scraped away paint where it's most going to be touched. I've left darker areas where it's going to be, you know, less easy to clean. There was one other thing. I thought it would be quite fun to simulate a shotgun blast on the upper horn here. And I've left the fretboard, of course. So this might be dangerous. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Let's have a look at the back. I didn't want too many dents and dints and scratches. It just looks like it's been in a fiery environment. That needs more. That needs more up there. All right, thank you for watching. This has been an interesting one. I really do want to hear what you think in the comments below. I want you to tell me if you think I'm finished. Follow me on Instagram. My personal account is @TheRealBenCrow. I know I am just a Real Ben Crow, but you know, too late to change it now. And @Crimson Guitars. I am going to strip out the LEDs. I am going to post a video of that on the Instagram when we're done. I'm incredibly happy with this. We have gone from no workshop to a tiny shed to a bigger workshop that still is not complete yet. But the instrument, yeah, it's an instrument. I'm definitely keeping this one. Yeah, crimsonguitars.com. Check us out. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and if you're going to unsubscribe because I basically wrecked a guitar, please let me know in the comments below before you do. Appreciate that. Goodbye.